I love a good action RPG and have spent many hours dungeon diving and rift running in the Diablo series, cutting swathes of enemies down as I charge towards my next objective. But what if a game implemented a Dark Souls type of combat style into an action RPG like Diablo and gave it a little bit more depth and challenge? Developer Darkpoint Games asked themselves this very question and have brought Achilles Legends Untold and its Souls-like combat to the Nintendo Switch. What's it like? Pick up your sword, don your shield, and immortality is yours for the taking as we review Achilles Legends Untold for the Nintendo Switch. Achilles Legends Untold doesn't live up to its title as it immediately tells the legend of Achilles, the legendary Myrmidon warrior, as he takes part in the siege of Troy. Things don't really go to plan and Achilles ends up falling in battles, presumably hitting the ankle, only to awake in a foreign version of Greece, presumably countless years later. And so begins your epic quest of righting wrongs, looting chests, and fighting many foes in a world that lets you tackle things at your own pace. There's a lot of exposition and cutscenes with some so-so voice acting, but it does a good job of building the narrative and the mystery surrounding your resurrection. Achilles embarks to exact revenge on Agamemnon, and along the way will dispense justice by either showing mercy or eradicating bandit leaders, rescuing blacksmiths, and stopping all manner of mythological creatures. The boss fights will see you rely heavily on rolls, dodges, blocks, and parries, as well as using potions to see them through, and they even manage to test my mettle every so often. The game is played in an isometric top-down view and shares many similar traits to the Diablo series. It's a bit more modest with its enemy placements, so you'll rarely bite off more than you can chew, and combat adds a refreshing change to the action RPG genre. You'll have to rely heavily on rolling out of the way of unblockable attacks, parry the ones that you can, and follow up with devastating combos. There were times when I was playing that it reminded me of the first battle in the movie 300, where King Leonidas expertly maneuvers through oncoming waves of enemies, parrying, striking, and moving the line forward. And then there were times when I was a pincushion for the enemy, wildly swinging my sword around in desperation, using up all of my stamina, and eventually falling down. Thankfully, you can recover your hard-earned XP by returning to where you failed, and use that XP to upgrade your skills at the Shrine of Hades, which are generously littered throughout the land. The XP progression system was really interesting, and it allowed me to develop Achilles to my playstyle. You can use points to unlock stat upgrades and special moves, and then connect them to a new constellation in the tree, bridging abilities and potentially unlocking special powerful skills when completing a specific animal in the constellation. It's really all about choice, and even some of that choice spills over into the narrative, because when facing boss characters, you're given the choice to spare or kill the boss once defeated, which can result in getting a new piece of gear, or perhaps something that later changes the narrative in the game. It can be a tough choice, and the good gear can be hard to come by, so I really just made my choices depending on whether I felt like I was due for an upgrade. Your gear choices will also affect your playstyle, like having a sword and shield allows you to throw your shield Captain America style, while two-handed weapons offer devastating damage and range at the cost of maneuverability. You can also obtain amulets in the world of Achilles, and unlike most games, they actually offer a compromise instead of a bonus. One amulet I found offered me higher vitality but sapped my strength, and it's up to the player to use them or just cash them in for drachma, which is the game's currency. Gear can also be purchased and upgraded at the local blacksmith, so you can level weapons you like instead of leaving them behind for something stronger. The story and the mission structure are rather rigid and linear, but I actually found this to be a breath of fresh air because it just kept the narrative running along at a decent pace and just kept me engaged. But for those who like to explore, you can also take the road less traveled to do side quests, find cellars to explore, and treasure to loot. You'll also find that after spending your time in the underworld, you unlock a special vision, which works similar to the Arkham series detective mode, and this allows you to track hidden enemies or find small rifts that you have to close. These rifts put you in a large room and challenge you to defeat all the enemies before they defeat you for a nice boost to XP and a free skill point. I really liked having the choice to push forward in the story when I wanted to, and aside from some extra skill points, I didn't feel punished for doing so. Graphically, Achilles Legend Untold is a decent looking game, and it cleverly uses its change in perspective to give the game a grand sense of scale around the world of Achilles. Some environments can look a little bit bland, but others do a great job of immersing you in the game. Enemies look great despite there not being a huge variation between them, and the animations are smooth, making combat seemingly flow. Some performance issues do hold Achilles back though, sometimes stuttering as you run along the landscape, and in some stages towards the endgame where the frame rate dips a little bit. It didn't really detract much from the overall experience, but it should be noted. For my Myrmidons looking into accessibility, you can toggle a range of options to help you fight your way to the end of Achilles, like an automatic target lock, aim assist, displaying mini-maps for a sense of direction, removing things like enemy health and damage numbers from the screen, and even turning off the cinematic blur. There are a range of controller layouts to choose from as well, but you can't remap individual controls unfortunately. At just under $30 Australian, Achilles Legends Untold is a great action game, and it was such a refreshing break to play in between some huge RPGs. The story will take you about 8 to 10 hours to complete, with completionists easily being able to double that time exploring every corner of the world and collecting every item. Its combat mechanics and character development add a unique depth to the genre, and the world itself is easy to be lost in. Despite some performance issues, Achilles Legends Untold is a story that I'm really glad to see unravel on the Nintendo Switch. So, what's it like? Achilles Legend Untold is like Diablo, mixed with Dark Souls.
But at what price? Time to get back to the smith.
I award it a 72 out of 100. Thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked it, the best way you can support What's It Like is by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. For more reviews, click on the thumbnails to the right, and for everything Nintendo, check out what'sitlike.com.au.